Bienvenue à Quebec. Now, Quebec is a province that I've wanted to visit since I was little. My first memory of wanting to visit Quebec was in elementary school in Ontario. I was in French immersion, and being in Ontario, we had our own Carnival every year. So I desperately, still to this day, would love to go to Quebec for Carnival. It sounded so cool, even in my little kid brain. So, did you try to guess what dish I did for Quebec? Let me guess. Poutine? You'd be wrong. I thought about doing poutine, but poutine is just so well known in Quebec, but in all of Canada, for all of Canada, that I wanted to do something a little different. So I picked the French-Canadian classic, Tourtiere. So something that I didn't know until I was doing a little bit more research was the tourtiere is actually a dish meant for Christmas time. Now, I had it growing up. We didn't have it at Christmas time though. But to be fair, it was also a major Canadian brand type of tourtiere and very, very plain. But hopefully the one that I make, it looks like it has lots of spices, so it won't be as plain as the one that I had growing up.
Okay, first warm up that pan and add some butter and get that melted. First off, sorry about this angle. I don't know what happened here. Hopefully I don't set it up like this again. Anyway, add those diced onions to your pan. Next, add your minced garlic. Mix those together nicely, getting them nice and translucent. Make sure you're stirring them occasionally so they don't burn. Once those onions become a little more translucent, you are ready to add your ground meat, beef, and pork in this case. Next, add your spices, and buying them in bulk is perfect for trying new recipes because that way you are not paying for spices that you may not use all the time. Once all your spices have been added, make sure you give it a good stir to make sure everything gets incorporated well. Once all that has cooked for 3 minutes, you want to add your beef stock. Make sure all of that is mixed in well. I really should have used a bigger pan here. It would have made my life a whole lot easier. Anyway, make sure it's all mixed in well and then turn down the heat and let that simmer away until the liquid has all evaporated. Once all that liquid has mostly evaporated, we're going to add our grated potato in. I learned a really cool technique with this recipe. It's something I've done with beets, but I didn't realize you could do it with potatoes. I just boiled them until they were fork tender and then was able to rub the peels right off. It worked perfectly. So once that's all mixed in, you want to take it off the heat, let it cool for a few minutes so it's not put into the fridge boiling hot, and put it in the fridge for at least an hour. Once your filling is completely cooled down, you can fill up your pie crust like I am doing here. I did make the same pie crust that I made for my Saskatoon berry pie. I will put the link for that crust down below in the description box. However, I did remember that it did shrink a bit, so I left a little bit of extra room around the edges. This time around, I also remembered to pick up a pastry or dough blender to cut the butter into the flour and the rest of the dry ingredients because it is much easier than using two knives. Once you've got your top crust on, beat the egg and make an egg wash over top of the crust. Don't forget to cut that vent in the top of your crust so that steam can escape. And now it's ready to put into the oven to bake. As you can see here, I also got a crust shield because fiddling with tinfoil is not something I want to try again. And remember to take off that shield partway through and look at that pretty golden crust.
Okay, time to give this a taste. Now, for my research, it says to serve it with ketchup. I mean, there is potato in it, so I guess. But, and I'm sorry if I offend any French Canadians here, I think it actually tastes pretty good with mayonnaise. So, do with that information what you will. But definitely, before you try it with any sauce, try it first, just on its own. Now that is a nice comfort food, and it's definitely not bland. You can definitely see where actually making it yourself, it would be far better to cook on a cold winter's evening or cold winter's day, because let me tell you, it heats up the kitchen quite a bit. I was very, very hot cooking this. And it's very, very filling. So it would be perfect for a cold winter's night. Next up, we'll see you in the Atlantic provinces. Now, fair warning, the Atlantic provinces were one of those sections in Canada where every province had very similar style dishes. So pretty much for all of the Atlantic provinces, you could interchange the different items for each province pretty easily. But I had to select one for each, so that's what I did. Hope you enjoy!